The most iconic phrase that every creative person on earth appreciates and love is thinking out of the box. This phrase was invented by Americans. According to the Creative Association of America, Mike Venice popularized the phrase thinking out of the box. But the question is, what is the common value and what is the statement that represent every American thing? Its constitution and laws, slogans of politicians and icons, common value in every school and university, the language of the American brands and companies, art, movies, Hollywood, and even its wars. It has been always liberty and freedom. طبعا احنا طلعنا من ولاية واشنطن امس، طفنا اكثر من 12 ساعة بالسيارة، وصلنا ولاية كنتاكي. وواحدة من الاشياء الغريبة اللي امس طلعت بالاخبار، ماكدونالدز ده في اوريغون ويطلب موظفين اعمارهم ما بين ال14 وال15، اللي هو المفارقة ما بين قبل شلون كانوا يتكلمون عن حقوق العمال في الصين، شلون يشغلون الصينيين بالمصانع هناك بأعمار صغيرة، وهذا أمر طارئ على الفلسفة الرأسمالية الأمريكية. صباح الخير. من ولاية أركنسو، مولد كلينتون، السياسي بالكلينتون كان جفرنر لهذه الولاية، ومن منطقة ليتل روك، وهي من أكثر النماذج اللي تبين العنف في أمريكا.
The city's two recent killings now bring Little Rock to face the harsh reality that we could be on track for one of the deadliest years in nearly 3 decades.
التزايد في الجريمة في سنة 2020 أكثر من 23%، أكثر من 55 حالة قتل في السنة بتعداد 200,000 فقط، أكثر من 176 حالة اغتصاب، لكنها محطتنا ومجبورين نوقف فيها. طبيعي احنا دائما بين يوم ويوم نوقف نريح موتل من هذا النوع، وعلى أساس ننتقل إلى النقطة الأخرى. خلصنا 18 ساعة وباقي مثلهم تقريبا، لأن الدرب 36 إلى 37 ساعة إلى أريزونا. راح نمر في تكساس، الولاية مولد السياسي لعائلة بوش، وبعدها ممكن نمر الحدود ونشوف حائط العزل ما بين المكسيك وأمريكا، يسمونه حائط الأمريكي أو حائط ترامب. فما زالت المسيرة مستمرة إلى أريزونا عشان نقابل the FBI أو نفهم ال FBI في أمريكا في أريزونا. We are all I'm living free, living free, living free, and I was meant to be free, meant to be free. Yes, hi Frank. I'm outside 4140. Great. Okay, we'll wait outside. Thank you. Bye. It's a conversational interview. It would be more focused on you. First, congratulations on your book. It's an amazing book. Thanks. I went through all the 7 C's.
Oh my.
Of course, we'll be focusing with you more on the security aspect.
Good.
So we will talk about the FBI history a bit to understand. There is more than 25 different intelligence systems here, NSA, CIA, FBI, just to understand that. So we'll break your interview into multiple topics just to collect it with you versus some of the opinions of Jeb, John Brennan. So that would be the mixture that we're hoping to reach. Also, Edward Snowden is one of our guests in this documentary to give a different point of view. I'll hear from you.
Where did you interview?
In Moscow.
Really?
Yes, sir. Wow. Yeah, and it was an amazing interview. He has For me, I believe that he knows he broke the law, but he always repeatedly says that sometimes, in his opinion, breaking the law is the only moral call he faced. That's his opinion.
Yeah, no, there are times when you are obliged and compelled to break laws. His situation was not one of them, but that's my opinion. He did damage. No one wants to talk about that, but some of the damage he did was very classified damage, right? So that's difficult to talk about.
We've interviewed Frank Puglisi, and he said the leaking of Edward Snowden affected negatively many of the things, but not everything is allowed to be shared. So the damage happened, but it's a secret damage that they can't.
That's awful convenient, isn't it? And, you know, it's always interesting to me because they claim that, oh, there's all this success that we have to keep secret. And everybody remembers the picture of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed in his pajamas when he was pulled out of bed and arrested, and he looked haggard and worn and defeated. And that picture went around the world the moment he was captured. That was an incredible piece of secret information. If the government had not leaked that, nobody would have known if Khalid Sheikh Mohammed had been arrested, including people in Al-Qaeda, right? So imagine the opportunities that are available to you as an intelligence officer now. They could have sent out messages that were supposedly from Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, or had a sighting of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed here and there or elsewhere, and really confused. It was gold. And by releasing it, you give all that up. And what did they get for it? We got him, you know, and it was purely about the agency's bragging.
Wow.
Sometimes the local TV will shoot me here, they get the back.
Nice. Sometimes common phrases turn to be life laws, such as, if you didn't do anything wrong, then there is nothing for you to hide. Or, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. But my friend Edward Snowden taught me otherwise. When we met for the first time 7 years ago, his perspective was, it's everyone's right to have their own privacy. And the key of freedom is privacy.
Throughout your career in the CIA and in the NSA, you experienced watching people' private lives. Muslim women wear hijab when they go out in the public life, when they meet strangers. And then when they go back home to their private zone, they take out the hijab. Asking you, Edward, is it not safe anymore to take hijab inside people's houses?
When the phone is right on the nightstand table beside the bed of a husband and wife. We are increasingly, as individuals, visible to outside groups. An old line that originates from Nazi propaganda in World War II, that of the Nazi Minister of Propaganda, Joseph Goebbels, where he said, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. But privacy isn't about something to hide. Women don't wear the hijab because they're trying to hide who they are. They're trying to protect something about themselves. This is a decision that is all up to us as individuals to make. No one can say that you have to dress this way. No one has the authority to tell you how to live. No one has the authority to tell you who it is that you should love. These are individual decisions. They're intensely personal decisions that shape who we are. And they help us understand who it is that we want to become. And that's what privacy is really about. Privacy is the foundation of all other rights. Privacy is what gives freedom of speech its meaning. Privacy, ultimately, if we're going to describe it for everybody, privacy is the right to a free mind. Privacy is the right to the self. Privacy is the right to be you. And if we leave that behind, we may have many things, but we can't be said to be living in a world that truly respects who we are and how we want to live.
من أمام أهم صالون في توسون في ولاية أريزونا. صفتنا الموتر هوم، وراح أحاول أقنع هذا الحلاق إنه يسوي معي مقابلة بحكم إنه وصل له 25 سنة، ومعروف دائما أسرار المدينة موجودة على كرسي الحلاق. جميع فئات المجتمع ممكن تقعد على الكرسي، فهو ممكن يحمل هموم الناس، يعرف خبايا سوالف الناس وأطباعهم والأمور اللي يمرون فيها. خلينا أحاول أقنعه. أنا أقنعته ممتاز، ما أقنعته على الأقل بنسجل الكلام. So give me a moment and I'll be back. Hello. Hi. I'm looking for Paul. بس على فكرة هو شاف الكاميرا وشوي تخض ما عجبوش. أنا قلت حقكم خلكم هني. احنا طبعا مكتوبة علينا الموضوع هذا بعد الدعمة اخترب الجنريتر. أنا بالنسبة لي عادي يعني، بس المخرج عنده مشاكل يتحرق.
Where did you stay overnight? Where did you park?
No, we stayed in the Sheraton.
Yeah, but okay.
Yeah, because since yesterday we started having problems in the generator. And this is what we usually do. Whenever we are stopping, we can't go to hotels.
Oh, good. The Sheraton?
Yeah.
Where is that?
It's 9 minutes away.
Oh, okay.
15, actually, 15. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
يلا ممتاز، مو مشكلة. يلا هاني ترى تأخرنا. So just to take you over what you'll be expecting, that we're doing it more casual. We'll talk about how much amount of freedom is here. But we want to know how did that affected security in a positive way or negative way.
That's right, sure.
And then we're done. If they want. We're ready? Okay, great. So Bismillah. From thousands of years, flags are the replacement of countries' names and beliefs. And out of respect, people around the world stand for flags when raised.
Well, good evening, everyone. And first, happy Pride.
I remember seeing a rainbow flag on the American embassy in London, and I was shocked. Why do they mix such a thing with politics? It's an embassy. Why do I see a flag? And 1 month ago, I've read an article that talks about President Putin giving the same comments on some things that are related to American culture that is forced towards the world. Like, for example, gay rights or the gay marriage.
If you talk about LGBT problem,
Yes.
that's very simple from my point of view.
You are asking challenging questions, and I applaud you for it.
The people had rights for their private life, but this is not a problem of the street. In Russia, we have a very simple situation. We have not law against LGBT, but we have a law against the propaganda of the LGBT value between the children and teenagers.
My guess is you saw this flag during the month of June, likely because in the United States, June happens to be Pride Month. So that's a month where Americans and corporations generally and other organizations tend to use that to educate on homosexuality, gender issues, and we celebrate the diversity.
I'll feel worried if I'm here in the United States and giving my opinions when it comes to gay. So God is easier to be talked about and joked about, but not gay. I remember also a friend, an American friend that has been born and raised in America, moved to California. And when he met a doctor for his kid, the doctor insisted on asking the son on his gender. So are you a male or a female or something else? And he repeated that question. So my friend, he's the American friend, told me that he doesn't have the ability to choose what to wear, what to eat. I choose for him what to eat, what to wear. Why is the doctor insisting on making him, from this early age, to go and give them those big questions like, what gender are you? Are you really a male or a female or something else? I know that America represents freedom, but dealing with kids, having an advertisement on the TV saying, are your father hitting you, or is your mother hitting you? Is that, do you really believe as a leader that this would have a good result?
The left-wing gender insanity being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse. Very simple. Here's my plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth. On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous. A process that includes giving kids puberty blockers, mutating their physical appearance, and ultimately performing surgery on minor children. Can you believe this?
I don't know exactly why it is. Why it's a bigger deal now than it was before, because these rights have been won. You know, I'm not sure what the purpose of the agenda that you're describing.
Because we mentioned the concept, the gender subject and how things...
You mentioned the gender subject.
I mentioned that. The second question on that topic would be, I felt something different here. I felt that it's overdosed here to highlight this. Do you think that it's forced or it's promoted more than usual?
An emotional Rockland Academy teacher addressing a packed house of parents, many furious about her decision to discuss the topic of gender identity inside her kindergarten class.
It was never my intent to harm any students, only to support them through a difficult situation.
I want her to hear from me as a parent what her gender identity means to her and to our family. Not from a book that may be controversial. My daughter went home crying, shaking, so afraid that she could turn into a boy.
The kindergartners came home very confused about whether or not you can pick your gender, whether or not they really were a boy or a girl.
It's really about the parents being informed and involved and, giving us the choice and the rights about, what's getting introduced to our kids and at what age.
You've raised an issue with regard to gender issues that certainly isn't my expertise, but I can tell you that I do think America has a reputation for going to extremes. By that I mean, we get a good idea. Hey, there are some children who struggle with their identities. We get a good idea, it's fact-based, and then we tend to be very good at going 100% with that, to the point sometimes of an extreme. So I'll let the professionals figure out what age is appropriate for a child to bring up gender issues, and I'll leave that to the professionals. But I will tell you this, in almost all areas of our society, our freedom can sometimes, and our education and awareness, combined with our mass media marketplace, right, can sometimes get us to the point where the train is going so fast now that it almost can't be stopped.
This is not a single issue topic. What we see is the government spending a lot of time on sort of softer cultural distinctions between itself and competing states, rather than large-scale topics. And think it's interesting.
The only flag I ever saw on the embassy of the United States in London, I go there every year, it was the rainbow flag.
Yeah.
So, and I feel it's, I don't want to say an opinion. I'm only a journalist. I'm here to say questions, not opinions.
Yeah, I don't think,
it's
I mean,
forced.
there was
don't you feel it's forced?
There's a rainbow flag in the embassy in Afghanistan. And it's one thing to, in your own country, to support the rights of gay people. Totally comfortable with the United States. Not sure it should be part of our core diplomatic efforts.
What it says to me is that the United States and all of these countries are gravitating towards the center. It's not that the United States and China are the same. It's that China has become more liberal, while it's still extremely authoritarian. At the same time, America has become more authoritarian and less liberal. There's sort of an authoritarian center of gravity that's forming. And the United States government, I think, doesn't want to recognize or admit publicly that it's becoming more authoritarian over time. And so the way that it responds to this strategically is by showing the areas where it is maximally liberal.
Not sure it's who we are as Americans. We're tolerant, we're open. There's other ways to express it that may create less concern in a host country. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
I think we need to have more tolerance in society, so I don't object to this. But at the same time, I think we need to look hard at how much of this is sort of an advertising campaign rather than a true policy commitment.
When it comes to the American flagpole at American embassies and capitals around the world, having the one American flag fly, I think, is the right decision. And we put no restrictions on displaying any other flags or any other displays at our embassies beyond that.
Stop forcing alien values upon us. You've already destroyed your own. Who knows where it will end?
Putin said in 21st of October, I think it's brutal when children are taught in the West that a boy can become a girl.
For us, Russia is quite a conservative country. We have a very enough conservative point of view for many value, And Russia is Orthodox Church country and Muslims country and Jewish, Judaic country and Buddhist. And this religious institution, they are forbidden this matter. But because Russia is a civil country, of course, we understand all people must have the right for their private life. But for us, will be quite complicated. Now said we are ready, for example, confirm the homosexual marriage as a social act.
There is 12 months a year, and that the Pride Month is 1 month. And I know that there is amazing months in America. Why was it the only flag? That shows that maybe, as you said, America or the leaders in a certain period of time wants to force some ideas into societies, if that's what you meant.
I think there's so much pride, if I can use that word, in who we are as Americans and who we are as believers in a democracy. And we're so proud of our freedoms that we want to proclaim them to the world when we might not take enough time to explain them to the world and to acknowledge that there are other ways of looking at things and looking at lives, right? And so that pride can come across as arrogance. That pride in our freedoms and our democracy can come across as us trying to force our way into your mind. And to the extent that happens, that's not right. It's not right.
I think actually people of faith may have, there's a lot of belief that somehow if you're a Christian or, you know, a devout Muslim or a devout Jew, that somehow there's something wrong with you. We're in a very secular world right now.
There is a very palpable fear among a lot of people on the right that America is changing too fast and not in a good way. There is still a lot of negative feelings about gay and lesbian rights, about marriage, same-sex marriage. And so, again, our society, our culture, our social fabric is being divided between the left and the right, both of which have very strong feelings.
Jordan. Okay, hold on. Sorry. If you would like, I would love the company.
Where we're all supposed to adapt and assimilate the same values if you're going to have an effective leadership environment. Sometimes leaders will force their values or even the organization's values on the rest of the team before everyone has accepted those values and assimilated those values. And maybe the leader who's trying to do that doesn't have the credibility. That's another one of the 7 C's, credibility. The credibility for that team to say, I want what he or she is doing. I buy into that. Sometimes in the United States, we can tend to not see the significant number of people who oppose some of those values. And worldwide, you've raised an interesting question. What is the proper balance to strike when you try to show the world the freedoms we have and enjoy and the truths as we understand them? For example, raising a rainbow flag over a foreign embassy. And are we doing that in a way that promotes the freedom or in a way that doesn't explain what we mean?
Why it matters to the extent that it appears to matter for people, for some people, I can't answer that. But I don't think it should be part of our, you know, I don't think we should be flying the rainbow flag in every embassy, particularly in places where it is, like, you know, it hasn't been embraced for, you know, for historical purposes, cultural reasons, there's religious reasons, a lot of reasons why what might appear to be acceptable here might not be acceptable in other places.
Look, up in the sky, it's a bird.
It's a plane.
It's Superman. Yes, it's Superman.
Superman in the next chapter is appearing as being gay, for example. On Netflix, more than 90% of the series that are there in the top 100 series are showing gay marriage or gay relationship. There is certain ideas that needs to be branded this much for a society to understand. So this pushes me to a different angle, is that who decide what's the country's topic or what's the next message in America?
So I think this is actually really important because it's interesting.
Remember, Barack Obama did not support gay marriage until, actually Joe Biden did before Barack Obama. And that wasn't that long ago. It was in his second term. It was after the Supreme Court ruling. And now a vast majority of Americans are totally accepting of gay marriage.
I think your suspicion here is actually a little bit reversed, which is the idea that sort of government and corporations are leading the charge to make the American people more comfortable with this idea.
Men marrying men, women marrying women, and heterosexual men and women marrying others all are entitled to the same exact rights, all the civil rights, all the civil liberties. And quite frankly, I don't see much of a distinction beyond that.
I would encourage you to go back and look at the research on when Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton began to support gay rights, and contrast that to public polling for U.S. American voter opinion in favor of gay rights.
I told the nations of the world that gay rights are human rights,
and human rights are gay rights, and that the United States would be a leader in defending those rights.
And if you look, everyone in America, the corporations, the politicians, were against it until the public polling started to get around 55% in favor.
Do you support gay marriage?
No, Barack Obama nor I support redefining from a civil side what constitutes marriage. We do not support that.
Do you think New York State should recognize gay marriage?
No.
No. Okay.
But then, in the Obama era, you have Hillary Clinton and everyone who are suddenly champions of gay rights. How did this reversal happen? American politicians are, like most politicians, I think, very flexible in their principles. They don't really have strong lifelong beliefs, so much as they go, what's popular now? Well, I'm in favor of that.
So what you're trying to say that they follow the trend?
Yes.
Okay, but I saw several decisions, major decisions, all American wars are against the popular vote. Every single war that has been taken as a decision.
This is important too. The question is, what does it cost the people in power? Support for gay marriage does not change how much Nike makes, unless people who are gay see Nike, they appreciate that, and they go, "I'll support Nike." Politicians, corporations, energy interests, banks. Support for gay marriage costs them nothing. Support for changes to the economic system could cost enormously. Changes to military policy could be tremendously disruptive to political plans, strategies in the long term. And this is why you see the distinction between why is this publicly popular, but the government and corporations won't trust it or won't touch it all. And then there's this other thing on the other side that they all jump on instantly as soon as the sort of public opinion goes in favor of it. And it's because they want to show, we respond to the public opinion without it costing them anything. Ultimately, it comes down to money.
The United States is proud to defend the rights of LGBTI plus persons around the globe, not as some Western value, but as a universal value. LGBTI plus people exist in every country, in every culture, in every religious tradition. Respecting their full humanity, respecting their rights. This is not a foreign imposition. It's living up to the principle enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that all people are born free and equal.
Aha, the microwave cam. Gentlemen, if you have time and your boss allows you.
No, you're the boss.
Come on. Okay, if I'm the boss, these are homemade cakes.
Thank you.
Homemade cakes, apple and banana.
Thank you.
The dark, of course, is the banana.
Guys, if you want to join. أقدر أخشه؟ أقدر أخشه؟
ترى كده بعيد أوي. تقولها سمع.
ركز لي بطريقة إنه ما ينشاف، يعني أنا مو أقول.
ما ينشاف؟
إنه ما ينشاف، مش عاوزه هو يشوفه. Freedom doesn't come for free, and the price is not cheap. Let's imagine that there is a board that decides the fate of freedom. Then who would be the controller of the board and who owns the majority of stocks? The melody of freedom has been always broadcasted and in every playlist, but sometimes songs ends with a discord.
Man, I just saw like this he's driving here.
Yeah, بس أنا خليني قاعد أكلم الولد وراي.
إيه لا حاسس.
خليني. So I just wanted to know. Okay, we'll cut it if you want.
No, I like it. No, I'd like it recorded.
Okay.
You want to record this?
Please. I have my mic on me. Would it work for both?
No, I don't have it on me.
No, mine. I mean, is it enough to have my mic on?
Yeah, be closer.
Sure.
Sure.
So.
Ask me the question.
I will.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sherry Lansing.
I asked you in the bedroom up that, is it really how it looks? Do they act when they get this and cry?
I can only say this is the greatest honor I ever received in my life. This is the Jean Hersholt Award, and it's for giving back to society. It is the greatest honor I've ever received in my whole life.
Wow, you have 2 of these in the room.
My husband got one for directing,
Yeah.
which I think was probably the greatest honor for him also, for the French Connection. So we're a 2 Oscar family, and that's really cool. And it's in our bedroom, and we wake up and look at it.
Movies are a reflection of societies,
You'll be sitting here.
Do you know who my husband is?
and societies have been always influenced by what they see in the movies.
You're all vaccinated.
And who owns the movies owns the public opinion.
Oh dear, so I don't have...
An uncommon individual, a singular woman. Her name is Sherry Lansing, and I have had... I've had the good fortune of knowing her my entire career, and I can tell you that she is the very personification of what this significant award represents.
Nothing can promote the American liberty and democracy like movies, and no one did movies like Hollywood. And if we wanted to know Hollywood, no one will be capable to define Hollywood like Sherry Lansing. In 1980, Sherry made history by becoming the first female president of a major studio at 20th Century Fox. She had her unique stamp on many projects, believing that films cannot only entertain, but also make you think. She started going up in the ladder of Hollywood. From executive to independent producer, Sherry brought to the screen such controversial, thought-provoking films as The Accused and Fatal Attraction. In 1992, Sherry was named chairman of Paramount Pictures, 12 years run that resulted in a spectrum of critical and box office success, including the Oscar-winning Best Picture, Forrest Gump, Braveheart, and Titanic.
Producing movies is like having the world as your classroom. You know, I wanted to make movies that affected people. I wanted to make movies that affected the way you thought or felt. So it was like a big classroom. Suddenly I had this enormous classroom, which was the world. And there are many kinds of movies that you can make, but I was drawn to the movies that really affected the way you think or feel, that affected your emotions, and hopefully led sometimes to social change. So it was like being a teacher. I just had this big classroom. So, and you know, they run films in classrooms now and to teach you things, you know, to teach you history, to teach you things. So I think that they have a lot of the same traits. But very few teachers go into the film business, I have to say that.
One of the movies I remember seeing in school was Braveheart. You've just reminded me about that. This is a movie, an amazing movie that impacted everyone around the world. Can you tell us about your role in Braveheart?
Sure. So Braveheart's one of my favorite movies too. So Braveheart is a movie that was brought to Paramount when it was in script form, and Mel Gibson was attached to direct it and star in it. And I read the script, and I knew nothing about the period when I read the script. Nothing. I mean, nothing. And I was so moved, and I wanted to make the movie. I cannot tell you that I wanted to make the movie and I knew it was going to win the Academy Award. That's Mel Gibson's genius. It really was.
And the Oscar goes to Mel Gibson for Braveheart.
I don't write speeches.
He's the most extraordinary director, really quite brilliant.
What happened to Mel Gibson? Why?
I think he's still working.
I know, but what do you've, even with Stephen, you've mentioned the word politics a lot of time. I stopped counting in the 1 hour when you've reached the 15th time. So many say that Mel Gibson, because of Hollywood politics, he was driven away in a way or another.
I think Mel Gibson, who I respect a lot and think is really one of the most talented people that ever worked in the industry, and I think he's continuing to work on projects, had demons in his life. I can't swear, but I think perhaps alcohol was one of his demons. And when he was under substance abuse, he often said things that I don't think he meant, and those things were inappropriate. And people got angry and they didn't want to work with him, even though he apologized.
Paramount and Fox, who both went in, they double-dipped. Sherry Lansing, John Dolgen, Barry London, Peter Turnant, Bill Mechanic, Jim Giannopoulos. It's one of the best cast and crews I've ever worked with.
I don't believe that when you are drunk, but I don't think he did drugs. I don't know. I mean, I don't think he did. I don't believe that when you're under the influence of a substance that you speak the truth.
New horrifying allegations are surfacing against Hollywood star Mel Gibson.
In 2006, he was arrested for drink driving and made various anti-Semitic statements to the arresting officer, including telling him that Jews were responsible for all the wars in the world.
Winona Ryder is doubling down on past claims about Mel Gibson making anti-Semitic and homophobic comments.
And he says Gibson frequently makes anti-Semitic comments. Esther House says Gibson made references that the Holocaust was a lie.
The Mel Gibson that I know is not homophobic, not anti-Semitic. He's a lovely, kind person and a wonderful professional to work with.
Mel Gibson, you know, he might be a little nutty, but he knows how to direct a movie. He really does.
Yeah, he really does.
Were you worried about working with him? I know you're Jewish, right?
I am, yeah.
So did you think,
proud.
oh my God, what am I getting into here?
No.
Since the moment I came to America in the strip, they always educate me how freedom of speech. Now you're giving me an example. I don't want to understand it in a wrong way. But is it because he said things maybe...
So let's go away from Mel Gibson for a second. Okay. But freedom of speech is not freedom of hate speech. So in other words, you're not allowed to yell fire in an empty room, and you're not allowed to disparage people.
Some people are going to welcome you back, and other people are going to be like, you should never come back.
Why?
Because of what happened before.
What happened before?
The remarks that were attributed to you.
That were attributed to me, that I didn't necessarily make.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But, I gather you have a dog in this fight.
Pardon me?
Do you have a dog in this fight? Or are you being impartial?
You tell me I'm trying to be impartial, I guess.
Okay. Well, I'm back. And I hope it works out. And I hope people will graciously accept me back.
We are in a country that allows freedom of speech, but hate speech is not acceptable.
Is it allowed for anybody to be Jew or no? For example, I am Muslim. Can I be Jew or no?
If you want to be Jew?
Yeah.
Why? It's I don't know English good, sorry.
When you travel the first trip, for you to discover the world, you've chose Israel. Why is that?
Because I'm Jewish.
I don't know. I know just...
Why you don't know English very well?
I'm from Israel.
You're from Israel, you came here.
Yeah.
So you didn't live here. And what's before Israel? What language do you know? What language do you know before Israel? Your language, original language. Where are you from originally?
Netanya.
Netanya? You're originally from Pakistan?
I'm from Pakistan, yes.
And were you born here?
No, I was born in Toronto. I'm from Canada.
So you've never been in Pakistan?
Never been, no.
I've never been there. I'd heard a lot about it. My sister was there living on a kibbutz, and I actually I chose two countries. That was not my...
No, Israel, then Italy.
And then Italy.
Yeah, Israel before that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it was two. It was Israel and Italy.
Where you born?
in Israel.
Wilade. Where were you born?
When?
Where? What country? You were born in what country? I am from Kuwait. My mother, she gave me birth in Kuwait. Where are you born birth in?
Israel.
In Israel.
So Israel, because I was curious about my heritage, I read about it, I'd heard about it. My mother escaped from Nazi Germany, and so it was always something I was aware of, and I'd never been. And my sister was living on a kibbutz for the summer, to see what it was like. And so I wanted to visit the country, see what it was like, and I loved it.
And how old are you? What year? You are 1994?
I don't know, sorry.
Age, your age. So I am born in 1988. I am 32 years old. How old are you?
I don't know English.
Why I'm saying this, Jew people are not a lot. They don't represent maybe more than 1% of the population of America. But they're successful when it comes to movie industry. You talked about how it is part of you in the DNA always to expect the worst or to work to the maximum. And you'll discuss that a lot because this is an amazing topic that I need to discuss with you. But before that, tell me, what is the real reason behind finding a lot of great achievers in Hollywood? They're Jews.
I think that the Jewish people, when they came to this country as immigrants, were excluded. We couldn't live in certain places. We couldn't join certain country clubs. And they were excluded. They were a minority group, and the world was not open to them.
They didn't have a voice in Europe to defend themselves. So when they came America, they said, we need voice. We need to have a voice for us. So nothing happened to us again. Nothing will happen to us if we have a voice. And I commend them. I respect them for having their own voice and invest in their agenda. Everybody have agenda.
You speak English very good.
No, you speak very bad English. But I'm sure 10 years you stay here in New York, you'll be the CEO. You'll be a bank manager. Why always Jewish people go in the top of banks?
Baruch Hashem, I don't know. Maybe smart.
Maybe smart. But they're very...
No, maybe, sure.
Sure.
If a Jewish producer knows that Umar ibn al-Khattab story will make him money, he will make it. It's about the green. It's not about me who against who. It's about how much I can get from this story. So the Jewish in America, in Hollywood, the most important thing is they know how to tell a story, and we don't.
But the film business didn't exist, really. It was just beginning. So it was the wild, wild west, and so they were accepted, and they gravitated there because it was open to them.
So you've just graduated?
Last year, yes.
And how are you doing it for 5 years now?
I was doing it while I was in school.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. And do you count yourself as a successful person?
Do I count myself as a successful person? I am happy with myself. I'm proud of my accomplishments. So yeah, I do count myself as successful, not because of money, because of my accomplishments and the milestones I've achieved.
You have money?
Who doesn't have money? You have money too, no?
A lot of money, or is it enough?
A sufficient amount to support myself. I'm okay, khalas. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
So you're a Muslim?
I'm Muslim, yes.
Well, I want to thank you. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Really was a real pleasure. Really a pleasure. And thank you. Thank you. And thank you. You asked great questions.
Thank you much.
A total delight, guys. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. You too. When did you move to here?
I flew here for clients.
Why do you meet them face to face? Talk is all about computers.
Some clients prefer face to face, right? If they're paying you big money, they want face to face. So I have to give them face to face.
Mentioning Islam, push me to two more questions, if you allow me. Muslims represent 9% of people in jail in America. Does it have anything to do, because they don't represent...
What percent of society, what percent of America generally are they?
They are less than 1%. So having to represent 9%, that's a huge number. What do you think is the reason?
Oh gosh, well, we have even more disturbing numbers when it comes to African Americans in our prison system, don't we? So it's all very similar, I think, which is a couple of factors.
You seem like someone that lives the American dream. Can you describe that?
I don't live there. Okay, hold on. I have a question. What's the American dream in Kuwait?
No, we have our own dream.
I'd rather live the Emirati dream. Okay, that's the best dream. I'll tell you guys this.
Okay.
What do you mean? You guys have the oil money, so I'm aware. So yes.
Okay, so let me go back to the American dream.
We see people who are differently. We see people who have different skin color, or worship differently, or speak differently, as a threat far more easily than we see ourselves as a threat.
What's the American dream?
I'm asking you.
I don't like the American dream. It's you eat.
Define it. What's the American dream?
Nice house, you know, good paying job. You can eat a lot of food, stuff like that, lots of money, right? That's the American dream. But
when you are not allowed to enjoy all the benefits of society, and you see more crime occurring, but you absolutely see people treated differently in our court system. You see it on the street with law enforcement, the figures on who gets arrested more, who's more likely to get shot by law enforcement. A recent Harvard study showed that African Americans are somewhere between 3 and 6% more likely to be shot by law enforcement.
Living in America, is it easy?
It's not easy, but it contributes to my success.
How?
Because I pray to Allah to give me everything, right? Before I wake up every morning, I pray. I pray for a successful day. And also I ask and I get it.
Do you pray 5 times a day?
3 to 4.
3 to 4?
Yeah.
But you know you should pray 5.
I should. It's fard, of course. It's mandatory.
It's fard, you know fard.
Yes.
Your Arabic is good.
Yeah, it's okay.
How?
Huh?
How?
Because I read the Quran, I took some Arabic classes and on my spare time, you know, so.
You don't have money?
No. You want to give money for a table, for that?
Who pay for your ticket to come here?
Huh?
Who pay for your ticket to come to New York? This one, the buy?
My father.
Your father?
Yeah.
Why? To help?
No, learn.
To learn here?
Yeah.
You are in school here, in university?
Yeah.
Shiva. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you, bye. How much religion is important?
It's very important, because for me, it's not possible, or, you know, you won't be internally happy if you don't have religion, right? You can have all the money in the world, but if your mental health is not good, there's so many things, right? Money you can recover, right? Things like, if you break your family, that's hard to recover. If you break our friendship, that's hard to recover, right? There's certain things. So it's very important to me.
We've got to deal with our issues as a whole of society.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Sure.
I'm grateful for the time you gave us.
Thank you. Thanks for coming to my home.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Of course.
The last favor.
Yeah.
I'd like you, if you don't mind, to sign this.
Oh yeah. Let me get one of my pens that I use for this. Yeah. Sure. Which of course my wife now has hidden from view.
Do you want this?
Yeah, I can use yours.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Let's do this. Yeah. Is it okay if we're standing?
Yeah, it's up to you, sir.
I sign on this page here. All right. This is my pleasure.
Thank you very much. I am here not to judge or to share my opinions, but to highlight the angles that seem to me blurry. Freedom in America is a principle with a unique edges and borders, and has a huge impact, positive and negative, on its majority or even smart minorities that knew how to use it. An impact on the whole of America and beyond.
A lot of Americans don't know that the motto of the FBI is fidelity, bravery, integrity, which of course start with the letters FBI.
Yes.
I have to tell a lot of folks that. So I've signed this to Othman with hope for a brighter future filled with fidelity, bravery, and integrity.
Thank you very much. That's so generous, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for having us.
My pleasure. Thanks to
Will
all
not
of you.
take long.
Okay, yeah. And if you're hungry, finish the snacks.
Thank you.
I'm going to turn this off.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Or I'm just going to give it to you.